It's the GMI Global Weekly Liquidity. So that's both private sector liquidity and public sector liquidity from the large global economies. I mean, it's just perfect. It leads by 10 weeks. M2 does pretty much a pretty similar job as well. So you've got that. You've got Bitcoin seasonality is always strong from this point onwards. I'm going to share another chart as well. Let's have a look at this one. And Bitcoin is also repeating what it did last year. I mean, literally perfectly. So we've got the macro overlay. The Fed are going to keep cutting over time. The other central banks are going to be involved. We've got the seasonality in place. We've got the global liquidity cycle in place. I don't know what else is left. It's kind of like it has to be now. Even the chart patterns, usually you get 3 touches at the top, 3 touches at the bottom of a range. That usually works. So I think all of the elements are in play. But we saw the last time Trump was in, obviously, because Trump is very tax light, very stimulative, and he's very pro crypto. So regulatory stuff, both for tech and for crypto, that you feel like that could be an extra juice if that were to happen. And 2016-17 was the last Trump cycle. We didn't have the Fed actually easing liquidity massively. They were just starting to raise rates and they stopped for 2016-17. And it was the Chinese who were creating the liquidity, and the market went, bananas-tastic in 2017. I mean, everybody I speak to is saying they're not raising capital right now. Everyone's kind of in that wait and see mode. And people are a bit disheartened, not disenchanted, but disheartened. And I think the RAA networks, the family offices, and some of the institutions, they're really more likely to FOMO in at north of 80,000 Bitcoin. And right now it's rotation. It's a bit of money that went on the sidelines, goes back in. I don't see anything more.
Welcome back to the channel. That was Raoul. He's telling you that Bitcoin is going to be blasting off very soon. It has to be right now. All the indicators are looking like Bitcoin's about to blast off. You can see BTC is currently sitting at around 62,000, with ETH around 2,500. You got Solana at around $143. And he's basically saying right now is the time to get into Bitcoin, get into crypto, because over the next year or so, we're going to see some huge gains for BTC, and that's going to bring up the rest of the crypto market. So I'm going to be going over my own charts in today's video, switching it up a little bit, and adding some additional context to what Raoul was talking about, so we can see where this market could potentially be headed. And the first thing I want to look at here is the Bitcoin quarterly returns. Right now we're wrapping up the end of Q3 here. We're currently about even throughout quarter 3. Quarter 4 historically has been good for Bitcoin. So you can see here we've had a lot of green for quarter 4 for Bitcoin. The average return in Q4 has been 88% for BTC. It's been the best performing quarter since the inception of Bitcoin there. So this is something to note. Quarter 4 is normally good. Going into Q4, we could have some more positive price action for BTC, but it doesn't always happen that way. You can see back in 2022, Bitcoin went down 15%. Back in 2019, Bitcoin went down 13%. And a lot of people on crypto Twitter, on YouTube, have been comparing this Bitcoin cycle to 2019 because of the price action. Yes, it's supposedly going to be like 2020 because of the halving year, the 4-year cycle, but a lot of people have been comparing that to 2019. 2018 it was 42% negative, and 2014 it was negative 16. But you can see there are some years where we do really well in Q4, 500%, 168%, 215%. So we could have some big gains coming from Bitcoin according to the historical returns here. And then also some big news that just came out over the past month. The US court ordered FTX to pay back $12.7 billion to customers. So where do you think all this money is going to go? It's going to come back into cryptos, it's going to come back into Bitcoin. Most likely, these are Bitcoin users, these are crypto users. They lost all their money back when FTX went under in 2022. Now they're getting their money back. They're probably going to put that money into Bitcoin and crypto, and they're probably a little bit mad because prices have gone up a lot since 2022. But I think that's going to be some more liquidity coming into the market. And we got the fear and greed index at 52. Neutral right now. We were at fear last month when Bitcoin went down. And then this is something I looked at in some of our previous videos, is what happens to Bitcoin when rates get cut. We have some data on this. Back in 2019, rates were sitting around 2.5% before getting cut 25 basis points a couple of times, and then getting the huge rate cut when COVID happened. And you can see right here, when we initially got that 25 basis point cut, Bitcoin rallied the next month, and then it went down and it kind of traded sideways. We got another 25 basis point cut, and mind you, this is in 2019. In late September, Bitcoin actually sold off. Another 25 basis point cut, Bitcoin actually sold off. And these were actually some pretty huge sell-offs. The Bitcoin sold off here from 10,000 all the way down to around 7,600, 30% drop. And then also right here, Bitcoin sold off from 9,500 down to 6,700, 30% drop. So just because we're getting these small rate cuts, we got 50 basis points, doesn't mean Bitcoin's going to rally. This was the big rate cut that we got. This is COVID, obviously. There's a lot of panic in the market, and then Bitcoin rallied after that, going into 2020, into 2021. A lot of money flowing into the market, basically 0% interest rates. And then the M2 money supply, it had been going down. It kind of peaked down in October, late 2023, and we've kind of been steadily going back up here. So more liquidity finally going back into the market. We're still quite a ways off from the highs that we saw back in April of 2022 at 21.7 billion. And currently we're sitting at 21 billion. So about 700 billion off from the all-time high that we saw about a year and a half ago. And with this peaking up now, this could actually drive Bitcoin's price higher. I mean, this is what we saw back in February of 2020 when the M2 money supply just went astronomical. Bitcoin's price went astronomical right along with it. So that is something that we can look at and say, hey, if we start to see more M2 money supply, more liquidity in the market, Bitcoin's price will probably rally. And then we are at the highest levels of Bitcoin illiquid supply in history. Combine that with the growing institutional interest, what do you think is going to happen to Bitcoin's price? And the liquid supply is a stat of wallets that have little to no selling history of BTC. So these are long-term hodlers. These are people who believe in Bitcoin, the long-term vision of it. They're buying more Bitcoin right now. Over 73% of the supply, almost 74% of the supply is in strong hands. It's in the hands of people who don't want to sell Bitcoin, who just believe in the long-term vision. So if this number continues to go up, price is probably going to continue to go up right along with it. And then looking at the stock to flow model, we are in this red area right here. Every time we get in this red area, Bitcoin kind of chops sideways for a bit before blasting off to the upside. So if history repeats itself, according to stock to flow, once we get into this yellowish area, and these are days until the next halving, we are going to be seeing some higher prices potentially going up here to potentially $1 million according to the stock to flow model. And then BlackRock, since February, we haven't even had these ETFs for an entire year. They're holding over 357,000 Bitcoin. This number is only going to continue to grow. Will we see outflows sometimes in the short term? Yes, we definitely will. But this number is going to probably continue to go up as there's more institutional interest, as more retail starts to learn about Bitcoin, as more people just start to understand why Bitcoin is one of the best assets on the planet. This number will continue to grow. So that's also something that could help the price in the short term. So all of these indicators is looking like Bitcoin could have a great quarter four. And then one of the key dates I think personally we need to be looking out for is going to be the October 4th jobs report. So if you remember back on September 6th, the job reports came out and it wasn't very good. It was looking like there were not as many jobs, a lot of layoffs, and it just didn't look good for the US economy. And Bitcoin sold off, the traditional market sold off. So if we see another report that's similar to what we saw on September 6th, and it's looking like we may be going into a recession, we may be doing more layoffs on October 4th when that number comes out, we could see Bitcoin sell off, we could see the traditional market sell off, and that would be a great buy the dip opportunity. But if this number comes back pretty decent or around expectations, I think Bitcoin is going to be primed for a great rest of the year, because we're going to continue to see interest rates come down. Inflation is almost at 2%, is continuing to come down, And then if we see good jobs numbers, the economy seems to be doing well. So in the short term, over Q4, we could see some pretty nice gains for Bitcoin, especially it aligns well with the Bitcoin 4-year halving cycle. So what Raoul was saying earlier in the video, it does look like Q4 is going to be doing pretty well. And right now, Bitcoin is cheap. We're currently sitting at $62,000. And if Bitcoin goes back to its old all-time high that we saw back in March, 74K, you'd be up 15% if you invested in Bitcoin right now and went back to the all-time high. So that'd be a pretty decent return for the rest of the year if we get back to that all-time high that we saw early in the year in Q4. So that's all I had for today's video. I appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end. Make sure to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. We have these videos coming out every single day. Let us know what you guys want to see more of. We appreciate you watching these videos. And we've been doing this for some years now. Whether Bitcoin goes down or goes up, we'll be here to cover the market and give you guys our thoughts and thoughts of other people in the market. So let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. Appreciate you watching all the way to the end, and I'm out.